Thank you for being here, Samantha. So question for you is, how do I check my I-94 and why is this even important?
Yeah, and that's a good question. Well, first, I guess let's talk about what is an
Yes,
I-94,
that would be a good
just to make
idea.
sure that everyone knows. So an I-94 is your arrival and departure record from CBP. So when an individual enters the U.S., CBP will issue them an I-94. In the past, it used to be a paper document that they would slide into your passport. Now it's all electronic. So it's very important when you're entering that you check your I-94. The I-94 is going to have information on there such as your name, your entry date, your date of departure or how long you're permitted to stay in the U.S., and it'll also have what status you've entered in. So it's really important to check that to make sure that it's correct. We come across individuals all the time who maybe forgot to check or didn't know that they needed to check, and then they realize that maybe they've already fallen out of status or that CBP admitted them in the wrong status. So
where do they check this though?
Yeah, that's what I was going to just get to. So how do we go about checking that? It's through the CBP website. It's cbp.gov/I-94. If you just do a quick Google search for CBP I-94, it usually pops up. It'll ask you for your passport number and make sure that you use the passport that you presented to the officer at the time of entry. It'll ask you for your name and your last name. If you have multiple last names or first names, you may need to try a few variations of those until you get the right one. And then you should be able to pull up your I-94 as well as your travel history. If you don't see your I-94 or you see that there's an issue with what's listed on your I-94, it's really, really important to reach out to CBP. And there's a few ways to do that. You can go to the deferred inspection sites, or most CBP offices now will process the requests online. You can also call them sometimes depending on the location. But it's really important to get that fixed, because if there's a mistake, you don't want to, number one, be admitted in the wrong status. And number two, you don't want to fall out of status because just because you're, for example, coming in as a B2 or a tourist, you can't assume that CBP has given you 6 months. They may have only given you a shorter period, and you want to make sure that you do what you need to do to stay in status. And it's super, super, super important to check your I-94 after your entry so that if something does need to be corrected, you can take care of that right away. It's also important to save your I-94 because you'll need it for future processes, and you want to make sure that that's correct and up to date.
Thank you so much. I mean, that means a lot. People tend to overlook this, but the I-94 is a significant document and they need to be up to date, current, and know that they're on the right track with it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you, Samantha. So folks, if you are planning a temporary or a permanent international transfer to the US or Canada, the NPZ Law Group, also known as Visa Serve, can help. They've been serving a growing national and international community for decades, and they can help you too. So get all the help you need today. Visit visaserve.com or call them at 201-670-0006. We'll be back in a bit with more on what you need to know about immigration matters. Stay tuned to Mirchi. It's hot.